from screen to shelf.
All right, guys, welcome back for our video viewers. Thank you for continuing to this part for our audio listeners. So this one is going to be just, again, pretty much same thing like 2023 releases from January 1st to December 31st, home media releases. It doesn't necessarily have to only be 4K. There may be some Blu-rays. We don't know each other's lists. But without further ado, we're just going to really dive right into it. Pretty much same format as how we did it last time. Mine is ranked. Will, I think you said yours is in no particular order, and I think Gabe, you said yours is ranked, right?
Yeah, it's ranked. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So without further ado, I'll get into my honorable mentions, and we'll keep this one because some of these we've done video content for. So honorable mention, From Beyond by Vinegar Syndrome. Absolutely immaculate restoration, a goofy movie. A Lovecraftian movie, everything about it, just absolutely adore that movie. Amazing home release. Glad it fell in the hands of Vinegar Syndrome. I couldn't imagine it being in anybody else's hands. Duel, surprisingly did not break the top 5, but Duel we did a video review for as well. Looked phenomenal, almost reference quality even. And one that is actually reference quality, Box Trolls, one of my favorite steelbooks of the year, and an absolutely immaculate animated movie that the HDR really helps that movie shine in 4K. Superman 1 through 4 box set. That's one of my favorite things up on the shelf. Check out that video review over there on the YouTube to check out more. And if you haven't seen it, I did a complete showcase of that as well. Shout out to one that I don't think got a lot of love when it came out, but it came from outer space. A black and white sci-fi movie. I believe that was Paramount that released that. Looked insane. Pumpkinhead, one of the best releases Scream Factory has done in a while, probably all year, if not their best disc all year, honestly.
Yeah, it was my favorite.
Yep. Last Starfighter, the only reason that one did not break into my top 5 is because there's not a huge difference from the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray does use a 4K scan downsampled to 1080p. Last Starfighter, Gabe, I'd recommend you watch that movie if you haven't, by the way.
Last Starfighter?
Yeah,
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, it's just about a dude that plays an arcade game, gets a high score, and then gets recruited into an intergalactic war.
Sounds fun times to me.
Yeah. This one's actually going to shock you guys that it didn't break my top 5. Shout out to Pearl as an honorable mention.
What? I was like talking to Chase earlier, and I was like, I know Pearl's like your number 1.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it made me giggle because I mean, a great release. There's just been so many good physical media releases this year. And as good as that one is, there's just some things that definitely edge it out. And my last honorable mention is going to be the Second Sight Crimes of the Future box set. But I did want to also shout out the Neon release of the 4K that came out around this time last year, because it does include the original 1970s Crimes of the Future on the same disc, which is a great back-to-back double feature by David Cronenberg. So that's my honorable mentions.
Cool. And just a preface too, guys, like I think Chase and I were talking about this earlier, that the titles we choose, I mean, it's kind of like a blend of like technical merits, like how the disc looks like, the packaging, like, and also just kind of our emotional resonance with the movie too. So it's like all three of those combined. I don't want people thinking that this is just like the best technical merits. Reference of like the top 5. So these are just like top 5 titles that kind of just stood out to us personally. Everyone's lists are going to be different, but yeah. Will, I don't know if you want to go into your honorable mentions real quick.
Yeah, I got a few of them. One of them was, I'll throw it out there because Chase, you mentioned it, Pearl. Awesome steelbook release. Great. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. These are like kind of like overall picks. You know, some of them, the transfers were just great. Some of them, they just had great packaging, which we'll get into. And then, yeah, I mean, mostly it's just an overall package, overall presentation. So I had to throw Pearl on an honorable mentions. I love the transfer. I think the film is fantastic. Was really hyped when they announced, or when I found out there was a steelbook release. So I had to get on that right away. So that's up there. Yeah, it was tough. There's so many
Great.
great releases this year. Another one was It Follows from Second Sight.
Ooh, yeah,
I think that was back
Forgot
in
about that one.
September or October.
yeah.
Yeah, that came out. So I got to mention that. So shout out to Second Sight for that one. Now, this one didn't crack my top 5, but I still think it's a fantastic release. And I don't know if this is in Chase. This might be on your list, so I don't want to like steal your thunder. But I got to shout out that Hellraiser box set.
Yes.
The only
shout out that Hellraiser
reason-
box set.
The only reason it's not in my top 5 is because for me, like 1 and 2, I love Hellraiser 1 and 2. 3 and 4, like they're still good for me, but
Yeah,
again, overall in terms of the films, like quality wise, 1 and 2 are really where it's at for me. But I mean, I got to give that box set some love. One of the coolest box sets that I think Arrow has ever done. One of the most unique looking designs, I would say.
yeah. Agreed.
But it's not in my top 5, so I'm not going to showcase it. Because again, just in case, I don't know what you guys picked,
Yep.
but I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder. What's up?
I said we're blind. We have blinders on.
Yeah. So those are some honorable mentions. I mean, dude, there were so many releases this year. Like that Bruce Lee box set was super cool. I mean, that was a cool thing too. I mean, Arrow for me, and I've said this before, they really won the year for me. I just think they put out so many bangers in 2023. I mean, I'm actually curious to see what they do throughout 2024 because I just think 2023 was a fantastic year for them. So, those are just some of my honorable mentions. But dude, there were so many releases last year that it's hard. Like it was really hard. I think 2023, I'd say even more so than 2022 overall. It was just much harder to like rank. That's why I didn't do a ranking because I was like, I can't like put one of these over the other. It's too much work. So those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah. And I think
Cool.
that's a good thing because Gabe, do you have any Arrow titles or Kino Lorber titles from this year?
Not from this year, no.
Oh, okay. I think it'd be a clear victory to give Arrow the gold trophy from Screen to Shelf as the best distributor this year. From box set, from just the titles they put out, from what they remastered. Arrow was the Kino Lorber close second with the sheer quantity and quality and how Cult and Underground they went this year. So shout out to them as well. But yeah,
And
Arrow.
shout out to Kino for Night of the Hunter. That's another one of my honorable mentions. I love that movie, and I felt the 4K from Kino was excellent. That's one of the best, I think, black and white movies on 4K at the moment. That disc is reference quality in terms of the lighting and the cinematography and what they were able to do with black and white in that film. It's incredible. So yeah, shout out to Kino. They're one of my honorables. Thank you for mentioning that because I almost forgot about that one. So thank you, Chase.
Absolutely. Gabe Diggity Swag.
Yeah, I'm gonna breeze through these guys just because I actually had them stacked here. So something very rarely I'm gonna do. I'm going to shout out Disney, which I rarely ever freaking do because these releases were actually pretty cool. So you got the WandaVision, Loki, and the Mandalorian steelbooks. They actually looked pretty phenomenal, and the fact that they actually came out and actually gave us the physical media releases of those, I shout out to Disney because I didn't think that was going to happen. And quick other shout outs here.
Sure.
Rebel Without a Cause looked freaking incredible. It didn't make my top 5, but this one really looked freaking phenomenal. Warner Brothers killed it with that one. We talked about in our other video, we got Across the Spider-Verse steelbook here. The 4K looks
great.
freaking, the colors pop, dude. It's just a beautiful freaking transfer. Dungeons and Dragons, we've already talked about this movie.
Shout out.
Great. Shout out. Great transfer. This one, I was kind of hoping Maltese Falcon. Chase and I were talking about this one. It looks really, really good. It doesn't. I don't think it reaches like Casablanca level. But it's a really clean transfer though. It looks really good. This one kind of like was underappreciated this year. I feel like it actually looks pretty solid. Yeah,
Phantasm,
I mean, like,
right?
that's
Mask
for the Phantasm. I liked it a lot. The HDR could have been a little bit better. I think the colors could have popped a little bit more, but I mean, it's still such a fun release, and the fact that they actually released it on 4K, shout out to Warner Brothers for that one. And then this one, Enter the Dragon, dude. I freaking love Enter the Dragon. It's great movie. I mean, the transfer, it's that film print, it's just hard to kind of get to look pristine, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a little bit of a dirty transfer no matter what you do, but that is the best that movie's ever going to look. And it's such a
Yeah.
fun movie and when I popped it in a 4K, it looked freaking fantastic. That's the best that movie's going to look, period. So those were my honorable mentions for the year.
Hell yeah. That's very solid. And I think, because this is actually pretty surprising. So for my number 5, I actually was torn between this pick because I wanted to keep it diverse. And especially since they fall in the same realm, I decided to go with, and I actually did a review of this one. I decided to go with Mutant
Ninja
Mayhem.
Turtles.
I was actually torn between shouting out Across or Mutant Mayhem, but Mutant Mayhem, like I said in my review, I'll just give a really quick summary for to kind of sell you on it if you didn't check out that review. It takes the frame interpolation and the frame rate ratio that Spider-Man kind of coined with Into the Spider-Verse. It takes that, yet it adds a much more hand-drawn, like high school doodle draws type of animation style to it. And I think that's why this edged it out. When I was watching this, the HDR actually blasted my DNA on a molecular level, and I think rearranged it. Like, it was really good. It was really awesome. The Steelbook just looks awesome. I don't feel like ripping that thing off. You can check out the showcase in there for our audio-only listeners. Definitely head on over to the YouTube and check out the Mutant Mayhem showcase and review. It's one of the strongest. It's a great movie. I should have shouted it out as an honorable mention for theatrical releases as well, but I knew I had it on this list. I'm going to give it its 5 seconds of fame right here. Pick this up if you really want to wait for a sale. It's just a great movie. Really, really good, but it's not your typical Turtles. It is Seth Rogen's universe, and I'm glad that he didn't give us something the same, right? We don't need more of the same. So I wanted to shout that out. And then, yeah, that's pretty much my top 5 pick, or my number 5.
Number 5.
Yep. Mutant
Will.
Mayhem.
Yeah, I'll get into my number 5. I do want to shout that out, though, because Chase, you actually recommended I check that movie out, and I ended up getting the Steelbook, and I loved it. I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. So, yeah. Shout out to Mutant Mayhem for sure. My top, or I should say my number 5th film, this is an Arrow release. We just said Arrow killed it in 2023, so you're going to hear that name a lot probably in the next, 20, 30 minutes. But this is a movie that I actually had on Blu-ray, but in my opinion, it's not only is the packaging fantastic, but the transfer itself is one of the best looking that I think I've seen all year. And that is the Mario Bava film, Blood and Black Lace. So this is the 4K full slip box here. So you get your standard little Amaray case in there. Comes with a booklet and a poster. But, dude, the colors on this transfer on the 4K are just incredible. I mean, the Blu-ray looked good to begin with. But this 4K transfer just took it to a new level. I mean, for a Giallo film, I mean, this really, set the tone for movies to come in terms of what a Giallo movie could be. But the colors here and the cinematography are just amazing. And this kind of has, that Technicolor look to it, too. So it makes those colors really pop. So that's my number 5. I'd highly recommend checking that out. Blood and Black Lace. One of my favorite Bava films, one of my favorite Giallo movies, and one of my favorites of 2023.
Hell yeah.
Number 5. We actually talked about this during the theatrical releases. It was my number 5 top theatrical. It's my number 5 top
what is that?
4K. That's a John Wick Chapter 4. That's a
nice.
Best Buy Steelbook. Yeah, John Wick, dude. I just honestly I talked about it during the last video, but just the HDR and the colors on this dude, especially when he's in Japan and just when he's going through the fight sequences, the HDR just really pops, and the Dolby Atmos track on that release is freaking killer. Like when the freaking car is flipping over and he's shooting the dude in the air, it's a killer soundtrack. The transfer's freaking immaculate. And honestly, it's probably, I got to watch them all again, but I think it's probably the best John Wick looking transfer that we've gotten. So John Wick Chapter 4 is my number 5 for the year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, shout out that I haven't watched it, but I've seen screen caps of the 4K, so I can definitely back up your claim that it looks great.
Well, you haven't watched it?
No, I've seen John Wick. I went and saw it in theaters. I just haven't watched the 4K. I
The
bought like
4K?
the day it came
Oh,
out.
okay. I was about
Yeah.
to say, where's the exit? How do I get out of here?
Yeah, no, I went and saw it the night it came out. So for number 4, you guys knew this was gonna hit the list. Come on with it.
Oh, there it is. Yep. After that,
There-
review
yeah,
that you
Come
gave
on
us.
with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys knew Toxic Avenger would probably be higher, but there, it's not referenced like we had said on. I just never thought we would get this. This is like, if you asked me what's the last 5 things you would want to hit 4K to be restored and then to come out, this would probably be number 1. It'll never happen. Troma has been on record, like they like money, so they'll do it if it makes sense. But Troma has been on record saying they really don't care about high definition, really. You know what I mean? So the fact that we got this, shout out to Vinegar Syndrome for taking the time and doing this. They've had a busy year, expensing out their labor to other companies. They've been helping out a ton around the block. But shout out a specific one, and not just necessarily the entire box set. Toxic Avenger Part 2, Toxie Goes to Japan or something like that. I think it's the subtext. Yeah. So it looks super clean. And the reason I don't shout out the very first one is there's some rough film elements, but the HDR, you have a giant green or really tiny green Hulk going around doing his own thing. The HDR really helps bring out like the really, really minor and massive practical effects. Toxie just really shines. And if you guys didn't know, check out the showcase of this where I talk about it a little bit more, because Toxic and I we got married in that video. So shout out to that showcase.
That was a good review, man.
I appreciate it. But yeah, number 4, Toxic Avenger Forever.
I'm glad that was in your top 5 because based on that thumbnail, I was like, if that's not based on the thumbnail on that Toxic video, I was like, if that ain't in his top 5, then I got some questions.
I guess this it'll make Gabe laugh. Remember how earlier we were talking about rounding out my top 4? I remember I was like, how did I not add this to my list? That's the one that I didn't. I kept forgetting.
My God.
Yeah, I was like, how? I was like, how did
You
this
never
not...
thought it'd get a 4K to begin with.
Yeah, I just. So
Yeah.
what we got over there, Will?
You guys have seen this before if you're watching on YouTube. If you watched our Vinegar Syndrome year in review, but I had to include it because it's one of my favorite as far as packaging is concerned. This takes the cake for me regarding packaging. So creative, but I think the reason why the packaging is so great is because it works so well with the artwork that they chose, and that is Vinegar Syndrome's Blade in the Dark.
Hell yes.
So we got the nice grilled cheese style, as Chase like to call it, the cover here.
You convinced me to buy that.
That's clean,
Yeah, I mean,
man.
and this is a little bloody for everybody watching out there. So don't be offended. But
It just looks so cool.
It just looks so clean, dude. I mean, what
That's
they did
super
with the knife, and we talked about this too with Vinegar Syndrome's packaging. Like the when you take this grilled cheese, I guess we'll point at that, right? The grilled cheese sliced off. The artwork underneath, it's slightly different. It's like slightly modified, which I think is a cool little subtle touch there.
Mm-hmm.
The movie itself is pretty good. I mean, the transfer is pretty solid. It is a 4K transfer. I never saw the Blu-ray. I think there is a Blu-ray that exists for this. I don't know if Vinegar Syndrome put it out. I'm assuming maybe. But it's a solid movie. Like I wasn't necessarily aware of A Blade in the Dark, but what's funny is for my number 4. This is directed by Lamberto Bava, who is Mario Bava's son. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like it's almost like full circle, father the son. So he's carrying on his dad's legacy with his own Giallo film. And that was one of my this is probably my favorite Vinegar Syndrome release of the year. So I had to throw it on here. Had to show Vinegar Syndrome some love. So yeah, that's
an
number
awesome
4
package.
Yeah, dude, and they've done. What did they do? They did Prophecy. I think that's the only other
grilled cheese style.
I could be wrong. I don't know if there's one or two. I know Prophecy for sure has
That's
a
the only other
similar
one.
box.
Yeah,
We want
might
more
have had
grilled
one
cheese.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, with that artwork, that was a day one buy for me. Like I couldn't not have that. It just looks so cool on the shelf. Like so, it's a perfect display piece for like a cult exploitation movie section. So yeah. That's
I
my
actually
number 4.
wanted to shout that out whenever I was going through. I remember I called you while I was at the archive because I found 4 Flies. I was like, dude, they also have like 2 copies left, and it's been sold out for a while.
Right.
So yeah, I was at the archive,
Wow.
saw that. I called Will, and I don't think he was expecting. I was like, dude, you won't believe what I found.
Yeah,
Found
dude, I
that
was
and is
working.
super
I was
happy.
like, hope everything's okay. And I'm like, is everything good, dude? He's like, yeah, dude. I'm at the archive right now, and it's funny.
Yeah, got some killer deals that day, man. So yeah, shout
yeah.
out to you for convincing me to get that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
right on.
Yeah,
Gabe,
what are we
do
on?
you
Number
got?
4, right?
Yeah, number
Quattro.
4. This movie, I did not. I was debating for a long time if I wanted to put this on this list because I
Okay.
was low key in October. I think maybe you guys saw me on the server talking about it because I was like contemplating even buying it. And that is The Others.
Yeah,
release,
okay.
4K.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So
The no HDR edition.
the no HDR edition, dude. And I was like honestly like talking about it for like a whole month before it came out because I'm like, is this worth buying? No
Yeah.
HDR, like what the hell's going on? And honestly, it looks freaking fantastic. Like you can just, it's one of those few movies where you could see just like the 4K uptick, the resolution uptick, like how much of a benefit it does to the movie, and it just it enhances that kind of like filmic vibe of it. But also the Dolby Atmos track on this is one of the best I've heard this year. There was a scene that I've seen this movie multiple times. I already know all the pretty much like the dialogue and all the jump scares and stuff. But like there was this dude, like I jumped, even though I was anticipating it. It was like a scene where you hear this loud thump in the second floor. And I just was like, holy shit, dude, the Atmos track is freaking fantastic on the movie. And I think Alejandro, I always butcher his last name. Amenabar? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he oversaw the transfer and it looks immaculate. The color grading, honestly, it's like it leaps over the Blu-ray. So it's one of those few movies that no HDR, and I'm actually happy with the way it came out. It looks freaking fantastic. So The Others, it's a huge recommendation from me.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Chase Waggytail.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's my turn.
number
Oh yeah.
number
Yeah.
3.
Let me make sure because I actually okay, cool. I had to double check. So this one, and I'm gonna go ahead and shout it out. Surprisingly, Will, Hellraiser did not break for the same. I actually like Hellraiser 3. I could have easily put both of them on this list, but I decided to showcase one instead.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
gonna go with my favorite Arrow release of all time, right next to Silent Running, because I adore that movie, and that's going to be the Psycho 1 through 4
Oh,
box
yeah.
set.
Oh yeah.
Like for our video viewers, like golly, if that doesn't get you going, nothing in this world will. Like it just
let's
looks
see those
great.
spines. There
That's
we go.
super
Yeah.
cool.
The spines, just the way they look, and I actually am a fan of how they did the red because I think it
Mm.
contrasts that very
Mm.
well. I think they
Yeah.
should have put the my finger. Orientation isn't proper right now. But
Right.
so again, just like the Toxic Avenger one, instead of shouting out the entire set, of course, Psycho 1 looks great, but it's been out on the format for a while. This one has a better encoding than the Universal. That was Universal, yeah. So then the
Mhm,
Universal
mhm.
Classics Collection 1. So it
Mhm.
looks slightly better on a side-by-side comparison. But I have been on record, and I am not ashamed to say this, that I actually like Psycho 2 more. That is my favorite. I find Psycho to be a flawless series. There's not a bad one. Even when you get to the fourth one, the fact that that one looks as good as it does in this box set, it should be
Yeah.
damn near a crime to be able to restore things to that. Like it is insane how good that looks. Like they must have pulled some kind of miracle. But this entire box set, it sits in a special. It has its own slot on my shelf. I'm just super happy. I was almost not able to get this, and like, oh geez, like to get this, it
Oh
wasn't.
yeah, I
easy.
remember you barely got
That
it,
whole
right?
saga, dude. I probably got the last two that
Oh.
anywhere had in stock, man, or like the last one or two. But yeah, shout out this set. For people that are curious, they did recently announce standard edition, so you are not out of luck of getting these.
Yep.
Arrow is going to release a standard edition of this. It just won't have the shower curtain aesthetic, and I think it comes in a slimmer style case for shelf life and shelf span. So
Yeah.
shout out, all four of them look immaculate. Again, Psycho's a flawless franchise, and these are movies I actually never thought. I actually thought Scream or Shout Factory would do it because they
Mhm.
did 2, 3, and 4. I want to say way back, and they've been out of print for a while, or just recently went out of print. They were a little scarce. So shout out Arrow again, winner of the year. Takes home the bronze right here for this bad boy. Shout out Psycho 2 specifically.
just to piggyback on that, I think they're doing like standard releases for Hellraiser too. So if anybody missed that
Yeah.
Hellraiser box set, you have a chance. At least if you want the films, you have a chance to pick those up as well. I think they're coming out around the same time that the Psycho set is. Are those? I think they're this month or next month. I thought
Yeah.
February.
I'm pretty sure it's January, February releases for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you guys are interested in those, head over to Arrow's website or check out, like, I'm sure they're on Diabolic or Orbit.
Yep.
So for those of you that are watching or listening, check that out if you guys are interested in those.
Absolutely.
Is it me?
Willie
I guess.
Styles, yep.
Perfect segue. Take it over.
Yeah, dude. So I had to throw a steelbook on here, and that was hard because I'm probably still going to do my my top 10 steelbooks of 2023 because I did grab a lot of steelbooks, but I was trying to figure out, as far as an overall package, which one I like the most. And it was a no-brainer. I mean, not only is the artwork incredible, it's one of my favorite posters, or I should say poster art for the film that they chose to go with for the steelbook, but overall as a package, in terms of the transfer, in terms of the special features, which are phenomenal, we'll get into that in a second. I think this is probably, I don't know if it's my favorite steelbook release in terms of the artwork and what they did with it, but in terms of an overall package, I had to go with Oppie.
Nice. Okay.
I had to. I couldn't leave this out because the movie was in my top 5 theatrical releases, but the special features on this are immense. 3+ hours of special features. I mean, I don't think I own many releases from 2023 that have that amount of content on them.
Yeah.
So I got to give kudos to Christopher Nolan and Universal and crew for releasing this, not only on 4K. I mean, it was a no-brainer we were going to get a 4K, but I think what's special about this as well is that Nolan was really pushing for like the physical media release. They had like I think they had like a big game spot for it. Not a Super Bowl spot, but it was like Monday Night Football or something like that.
Yeah, like prime time. Yeah.
Prime time TV ad for it, which was cool. So it was just kind of cool to see that. And that's not that influenced my decision, but it was just cool to see that again, because we don't, something I haven't seen in a while was a TV spot for a
physical media release.
So
that was like the old school days.
Yeah, exactly, man. It kind of took me back a little bit, but yeah, man. I mean, my top 3 or number 3 pick is Oppenheimer on 4K steelbook, and I mean, look at that, dude! Like,
gorgeous.
Gorgeous artwork,
and it's embossed on the.
It is,
on the title, which is very rare on Best Buy.
Oh yeah,
Best Buy's part.
Yeah, so one of the few embossed titles I think they did last year. But yeah, I had to throw that on there. I had to show that some love. So that's my 3rd pick.
Solid pick,
Gabe.
dude. What are we on, number 3?
What do you got?
Mhm.
Yep.
Number 3. I actually showcased this one already. TV series, which I've already talked about. You guys probably know what it is already. The Last of Us.
Nice.
4K.
Nice.
HBO kills it with their 4Ks, man. I don't feel like we really give them enough credit. Like, I mean, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Chernobyl, and now Last of Us, dude. These discs look freaking. I rewatched the entire series on 4K, and it's freaking immaculate. Dolby Vision, great shadow detail. It's just a freaking. I mean, it's one of my favorite video games of all time, and obviously we did that whole podcast on video game adaptations. This just kind of takes the cake for me, man. It's a great release. This steelbook was interesting though. I thought we were going to get it domestically. I was waiting, and like it was like the week before release, and Best Buy still didn't drop a pre-order link for it. So I was like, oh crap. So this is through what is it called? FNAC. Yeah, FNAC. So I ordered and they shipped it faster than Best Buy ships their freaking domestic releases. I got this in like 3 days.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is freaking mind-boggling to me. So, and it came in perfect condition. They know how to package their stuff. Gorgeous steelbook, great show. Very happy with the way the transfer came out. So, shout out to HBO, because I don't think we really give a shout out to HBO that much with their 4K releases.
Hell yeah,
Chase Waggytail. Number 2, brother.
So this one actually is a movie that has been out in Germany, courtesy of Turbine, for about 6 years now. And we just recently got to, and this one's a bit more sentimental for me, just recently got to experience the US release of it. I did happen to get the UK release of this movie, and this particular copy is actually a bit sentimental to me. And that's going to be
Oh yeah.
the Second Sight Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Hell yeah.
box set. For those that can't, or for audio only listeners, what I just showed is I have the pleasure of having this signed by Alan Danziger, who the podcast we had the absolute blessing to host him on here quite a few episodes back, and then also by Mr. Dugan as well, who played Grandpa. That still to this day is one of my best memories. Everything like this just has a lot of sentimental value outside of being like top 3 movies of all time to me. It's just they killed it with this set. The special features that come in here, everything that comes in there, the little lithograph cards that come in here that have tears, courtesy of Mr. Dugan, because he was crying whenever I showed them to him. So his tears permanently stain my lithographs. I'll never forget that. It's still to this day one of the best experiences anywhere. Getting to be around those people, meeting them, having them on here. Texas Chainsaw, it looks immaculate. Now, whenever I talk about how immaculate this set looks, keep your expectations pretty minimal because it is a 16 millimeter. It doesn't look insane. Plus, I mean, it was supposed to have a grimy feel to it. So this is as happy as I am that it has a 4K restoration. The Second Sight variation actually is a different restoration from I think what is it, Dark Sky that did the US release, and then Turbine's release. Yep. It's slightly better. And when I mean slightly, I mean that's probably giving it a 5% courtesy. And that's not to dock down on Second Sight. It's just they are super limited with what they can do. It's like Evil Dead 1, right? Trying to get that to look much better. It's going to look a little yellow tinted. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. But this is the absolute best unless there's ever a superior format in the future. So to showcase that one more time, because I can't ever get enough. And it has a special spot. It doesn't even sit on my shelf. It sits in my bedroom. So it's like,
that's dope.
Yeah.
He rested on the pillow next to him.
Yeah, I kiss it goodnight.
Yeah. And he throws the cover over it, make sure it's nice and toasty.
That one takes the second spot.
Well, bro, I don't really know how to follow that up. Because my story is not
that's a big one to follow up.
Well, so it's funny because my second pick was
nice.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you what we're gonna do here. I mean, Chase, you sold the Second Sight edition marvelously. There's not much else I can add to that, and you have a personal story to go with it. And you know that's beautiful. So what I am gonna do though, give me a second. I'll be right back. I just want to show Dark Sky some love. Because they put out the version in the US. So give me 1 second.
I was about to say I was about to go grab it too.
You guys both got it, man.
All right. So what did you grab, Will?
So seeing as you had the Second Sight as your pick, and we had the same idea. We think alike because it was my second pick. But instead of talking about that again, I can't really top what you had to say because I thought you did a fantastic job.
Appreciate
selling that to everybody, but I want to showcase the Dark Sky films, what they put out.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think the Second Sight transfer is slightly better as well, but I've heard, I mean, you ask a lot of people, they'll say that that's preference, right? So
for sure.
But with the Steelbook, I mean, you can't go wrong with this if you're a fan of this movie. It's got the original, the poster art that everybody loves. The Who Will Survive and What Will Be Left of Them. And that actually, this Steelbook's cool because it came with, I think it's like an 18. It's not an 18 by 24. I have it framed.
You got it right here.
It's like
I got it right here.
The poster. Want to show that
mini
poster if you could, Chase? Yeah, you get that cool little poster there.
Chase sleeps with that too, by the way.
Yeah, this is actually my blanket. But yeah, and actually what I was showing, shout out to Dark Sky. I do wish it was a different transfer because I always like to see what people do. But it is the same as this release that I had just shown a second ago, the Turbine Media release. They just got the U.S. rights, which I wish I kind of knew. I know the Turbine release was approved by Mr. Hooper before he unfortunately is no longer with us. But yeah, to piggyback off of that, I don't think I went into much detail, but it's got the Shocking Truth documentary on that Second Sight release, which is an amazing documentary. Gives you a lot of insight. Gives you so many cool details about. I mean, it's up for debate, but what I consider to be the greatest American horror movie of all time.
Yeah. Let's just show the artwork one more time for this.
Yeah,
So this is their
Yeah,
Maryland's
it's super
Eye.
clean.
Yeah, that's the lithograph of mine that's stained with Mr. Dugan's tear. He just saw it, and I guess maybe it's just not as common to be seen as
Yeah.
the regular
Mm.
theatrical poster. But I mean, that guy is a blessing. He saw that, and
but
yeah.
So yeah, 2 versions of that available. I think the second site is sold out, I'm pretty sure, but
Yep.
Dark Sky might still have some of their copies available. I'm not sure about the Steelbook. It might be harder to find now. I think people said they saw some of them at Walmart. I remember.
Yeah.
hearing that.
This
Yeah.
one's at Walmart. I saw it at one of my
Okay.
local ones.
Mm-hmm. My local
Okay,
one had like
so-
3 copies on the shelf.
Yeah.
You didn't buy
But
it?
because
Not yet. Well, no, they had it for like it was like some it was like $45 or some shit like that.
Oh,
It was,
no.
it was
Dude,
kind of
that's-
ridiculous. Yeah, I was like,
that's way too steep.
you're crazy.
That's a bargain.
But no, I think that slip cover. I had to get the slip cover too because I just
Yeah.
thought the artwork was so cool. So I
What does it look like underneath? It's the theatrical poster right underneath. Oh, on like the actual Amaray.
Oh,
Or
I'm
is it the
sorry.
same?
Yeah, the Amaray. Yeah, let me show you guys
Yeah.
that. That's
Oh,
the
okay,
standard,
cool.
yeah,
It's the same.
the
Okay,
original
cool.
theatrical poster. So yeah,
Nice.
man, I double dipped on that because again, big fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We had the podcast on it. We're all super big fans of that. But yeah, that's number 2 for me as well. And shout out to Second Sight and Dark Sky, both doing fantastic work with those releases. So
Yeah.
You guys are always on
Alright.
the same wavelength, man. With the
Yeah, we
physical
can be.
media
Yeah.
releases.
not
Yeah.
always, dude. Yo, I'm not making
like
out with the
different things.
Toxic Avenger, man. I'm
Yeah.
not in that. I'm not in that boat.
Which one are we
Yeah.
on? Number 2?
Yeah, we're on
Right.
number 2.
Yeah, we're on the second. We're on Silver.
Okay. Silver.
Oppenheimer,
This-
right?
N- we'll just leave a moment of silence there and just stare at you. This is another Disney release, man. That
Oh,
I
nice.
just it's Prey.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
This one-
Honorable mention for that too. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
this for a BD66, like this thing
Mhm.
looks clean. It looks
does.
really clean. The HDR pops. Soundtrack is incredible. And honestly, like when I first saw it on Hulu, I was like, it's a shame just because to me it's like one of the best Predator movies I've seen in a while. Like this
Yeah,
movie's
I
just
agree.
freaking fantastic. And the fact, shout out to Disney. It's probably the only year you guys will hear me say shout out to Disney, but shout out to Disney for giving us a freaking physical media release of Prey, because honestly, I saw this
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times on streaming just because how much I loved this movie. And yeah, dude, when they announced the Steelbook, I just had to get it. It's just a freaking amazing transfer. I had a lot of fun watching the 4K, and for a BD66, I think it does a freaking fantastic job. So Prey is my silver for the year.
Yeah, and actually, you convinced me to buy that. Let me go on a little bit of a couple minute tangent about that. I didn't know Prey was a Predator movie.
What? Really?
When everybody was talking, I love Predator.
Mhm.
I heard it was very tribal. It was near and dear to a lot of culture and stuff like that for the
Mhm.
representation. The Comanche, I believe Comanche, if I'm not butchering
Comanches.
that right, the
Yeah.
language option that it had on stream and stuff like that. So then actually this was coming out, and I was like, oh, this is a Predator movie I missed. And I'm a huge Predator fan. I'm a huge fan of Predators. I'm pretty sure the one with Adrian Brody. I
Yeah.
thought that was a cool one. It's not a perfect movie, but I watched that and I can't believe I forgot about that on my honorable mentions. But yeah, that's a great I'll call it reference 66 since it's not a 100.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a reference,
Reference
66.
66.
A reference 66 disc. It looks great. First time watch. That's one of the best action movies I've seen in a few years. Really good. The way that it's very smart as well for what it
Yeah.
gives you. The main character is very, very, very intelligent.
Mhm.
And that was one of the funnest movies that I watched for the first time. Had that movie came out for this year, that easily probably would have broken my top 3.
Oh yeah, for sure. Theatrically.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
just like movies that came out this year, it would have been a phenomenal contender up there. But yeah, shout out Prey. You convinced me. I missed out on the Steelbook. I have just the standard one, but shout out to Walmart for having messed up price stickers because I ended up getting it for like $18 anyways. So
Yeah, baby.
Well, that may be the new norm, right? With Walmart taking over.
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And then
So-
yeah, because mine and Will's were the same, right?
I think you
For
guys. So
second,
you guys,
yeah.
For second, I mean, is the number 1 the same too? You guys got the same number 1?
No, I don't even think he owns this one. Unless he did, unless he bought it and never talked to me about it.
We'll
But this
see
one
right
is-
now.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, "Wow, how coincidental." So
You're gonna
this
see
one,
me get up and walk over to the shelf as soon as you.
Yeah.
release.
yeah.
Which one do I have? Oh, now I have to fucking get another. Go ahead.
I have to be different.
So this one is a limited print by there's a ton of standards left, and after I'm done with this, I hope I sell you on it. If my 4K review that I just recently published of this, it's why I put out my review for this movie. This movie introduced me into the realm of movies. I had always been into this, but I didn't know movies could get this fucking weird. And I am just so happy that Dr. Caligari exists.
Oh yeah.
By Mondo Macabro. So this is a reference quality movie. I am a genuine bystander in that. The fact that the film elements were as bad as they were, it's kind of like Rear Window-esque. They were almost unusable, everything like that. The transfer, the quality, everything here. The special features, that limited edition slipcase. It's like I said in my 4K review, I actually thought this was a direct sequel to The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It kind of is. It's just, it's his granddaughter, great-granddaughter. Shout out that. I forgot to put that as an honorable mention. The Eureka Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a full slip 4K they put out. That's one of the creepiest movies ever made, and it looks amazing. But I went with this one instead because it was either going to be this one or that one. I was going to go as best transfer of the year. So to essentially give you, if you haven't checked out the review over there, because I don't want to keep sending people over to the YouTube for our audio listeners that didn't get to check that out. Dr. Caligari, she's essentially a sex therapist. So essentially she deals in people that have no libido and have the purest form of nymphomania. So she has an obsession with people's sexual desires. And she runs an asylum for nymphomaniacs, people with high libido, and she finds a higher interest in that versus the people that are just full-on maniacs, right? So it's great, the acting in it. There's like these twins, or like these two close friends that are almost like Jesse and James from Team Rocket and Pokemon, that they like rhyme off of each other continuously. With everything, and they're trying to investigate Dr. Caligari, and her dad's like the FBI and stuff like that. But like you even have tongues, like plants made of tongues. You have like these plants that like pop pimples and these walls with zit faces, and it's just the fact that this movie got made is why it's number one. I can't believe some of the creativity that exists in this world. And people that are so driven to go out there and put their vision to film, to screen, to writing, to art, to whatever it is. I am happy that this movie came out. I am just super over the moon that Mondo decided that it should be their first foray into 4K. I wish this movie got more love. You can annually or religiously buy it for like $21, $25 for the standard, just the one without the slip on this guy right here. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. Buy it till it sells out. Let there be an audience for great stuff like this. But to follow that up, so that way I don't leave Blu-rays out, because I don't want it to seem like we're biased to only 4Ks. I wanted to shout out my favorite. I have quite a few Blu-rays from this year. Not enough necessarily worthy to shout out for Blu-ray only shout outs. Beau Was Afraid would make it up there. It looked great on Blu-ray and streaming. So my Blu-ray of the year is going to be Max Fleischer's Superman. And this one actually has a sentimental story to it. Do you guys remember those like centimeter wide DVD cases? Like where they were like, you could like throw them like a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Like they were like literally a disc wide. They were super thin, like plastic DVD cases. So there was a DVD set that I grew up with. It was called Superman and the Bulleteers. That was in those thin, tiny plastic cases. So everything that's presented to me here in Blu-ray is ingrained in my head. You know, I didn't have internet growing up, stuff like that. So whenever this got announced, I had to have it because I don't know what happened to my DVD set. So this has a lot of sentimental value. It does use DNR, which when it comes to animation, it's not like you're taking away pores. Like they didn't animate pores on his faces. It's not a big deal, you know. Whenever it comes to celluloid and the way that film was used, then sometimes DNR is warranted. It gets dirty. You're a lot more hands-on with that film than you are your traditional sense with something like 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know, it's a lot of layering and stuff like that. This is one of the cleanest animations I have ever seen on the format. You honestly would be hard-pressed to not convince me that this was not in HDR. This set looks incredible for a series that's near and dear to me. I'm not the biggest Superman fan. I become more of a Superman fan with time, But I had to shout out the labor of love that this is, because I never thought that we would ever get this. I thought these would be lost to time. But now, in the age of superheroes that we are in, I am super glad that we definitely got this. That's my Blu-ray of the year right there.
Hell yeah. Big Willie Styles, you're number one. You're gold.
My gold for this year is a movie that's pretty sentimental to me. I mean, it's one of the movies that I instantly loved when I was a kid. I did post a review on this movie. Again, just a movie that I've loved ever since I first saw it. I've seen this movie dozens of times by now. And I think it's probably one of the movies I've wanted to own on 4K since as long as 4K's been out. What, 2016, 2017, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
From the advent of 4K, I was hoping that they would come out with this movie. And Arrow, and I think this was actually a partnership. Arrow and I think MVD helped distribute this as well, from what I remember. But that is The Warriors.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Warriors. I think this is a movie that for Arrow being a boutique label, this is probably one of the biggest titles that they've released, I'd say, in their history. So many people have been asking for this movie, and they really did it justice. I talked about this in my review, but I think, honestly, this is one of the movies that everybody should own. Even if you're not a fan or if you don't frequently purchase boutique stuff, I think you should own this movie. I think this is a movie with a lot of crossover appeal. It's just fantastic. And that this set is stacked, guys. These are two 100 GB discs. You have the 4K theatrical cut, and then you have the alternate version. Like, a lot of people are not a fan of that alternate version because Walter Hill, he kind of approached it from like a comic book kind of perspective, where he had like weird cuts in it that had like the comic book style like cutaways and stuff like that. So I wasn't necessarily a fan of that alternate version, but I mean, you get the original theatrical cut on this and it looks absolutely amazing. So it's one of my favorite transfers of the year. It's one of my most long-awaited 4Ks. Just a movie that I've wanted on the format for so long. And yeah, just like a really amazing movie that I remember growing up with. I talk about it in my review about how I played the PS2 game from Rockstar.
Yeah.
Just made me love this movie even more. It's just the world that Walter Hill created with this movie. I'm a big fan of like of some of the stuff that he did, because this movie is like a kind of like a movie that emphasizes or showcases like world building. Just again, years ahead of its time, in my opinion, in terms of just what he was able to do. And as far as like the transfer, I mean, if we're going to touch on that real quick, this movie looks incredible. I mean, from the opening shots of the subway, I said this in my review as well, but with the title cards over the shots of the transit, the subway transit line, and even that opening scene where all the gangs are kind of meeting together. I mean, the costume design is amazing in this movie. It was shot on location, so all those shots and those locations look absolutely great in 4K with the Dolby Vision HDR. So one of my favorite transfers of the year, one of the best packages of the year, and just a movie that people have been asking for a long time. So probably one of the best titles of 2023, hands down. But that's my number one.
I do want to pick that one up because I saw your review for it, and as soon as I saw your review for it, I was like, I gotta watch that movie again. It's been a minute, and I want to see that in particular, that scene like you said where they're all congregated, that big meeting just in 4K should look freaking fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I almost
to
picked that up at the archive, but they were taxing. They wanted $59.99 for that.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Damn.
I almost picked it up there though, because I saw it. They have that one that you have. They probably ordered it from Arrow's website, the white box one, the original artwork. They had it, and I was like, man, Will's review was so damn good. He bullied my wallet into smithereens into wanting it, but not for $60.
Yeah, that's a lot, dude, just for that title.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like, I mean, not only Will, but I mean that movie blew up on the Reddit and the Discord too. Like everyone was freaking talking about that movie. So I'm excited to get the 4K for that one. I gotta pick it up. I think that's a great pick for number one. You guys already know my number one. What is it? What could it be? What could it
Godzilla
be?
-1. Somehow you have
Godzilla.
the only 4K.
I know, right? The bootleg of Godzilla -1. Oppenheimer. I can't say much more than Will did. I mean, incredible freaking. I mean, you get the IMAX shots in here. It looks freaking fantastic. The HDR is incredible. Nolan never uses freaking Atmos, which I don't know why. I mean, you just get the 5.1 mixed with this, but it still sounds incredible. And the special features, like Will said, 3 hours, man. And it's so interesting watching how they build the town and all the practical effects, and it's freaking fantastic, dude. It's such a great package, and the Steelbook looks freaking phenomenal. I did want to do a quick, because Chase had mentioned a Blu-ray nod, and I saw one on my shelf that this is a 2022 movie, but the Blu-ray came out January 2023, so
That counts.
it counts.
Yeah.
So The Menu.
The Menu. Okay, nice.
Yeah, I freaking loved this movie. This movie was
yeah.
freaking phenomenal, and the Blu-ray looks freaking clean. If you guys haven't
Nice.
seen the Blu-ray for it, it is a freaking fantastic movie. Transfers freaking immaculate. This is just a fun movie, man. I'm hoping it gets the 4K. I just pulled the trigger on it because it was like $5 during Black Friday on Amazon. It was like $5.99 or something like that on Amazon. So
Nice.
pulled the trigger on it. Fantastic movie. If you guys haven't seen it, but that would be my little Blu-ray nod for the year.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And we kind of talked about it a little bit before we went live, but I wanted to say that let me see. I actually had a small list that came out. I just want to go ahead and rip these instead of doing a whole different YouTube video while we've got an extra few more minutes. The worst movies I've seen. So on physical media, I wanted to just see that because I don't own Exorcist Believer. We've already beaten that dead horse. So I did blind buy. I buy every DC animated movie. I'm going to give this thing its 20 seconds of infamy. Justice League X Ruby. Awful. Just awful. There's nothing else that needs to be said. But I also wanted to go on a little tirade and talk about Kill Her Goats. How much that entire ordeal pissed me off. So Kill Her Goats just went on this huge marketing ploy talking about how pure practical, no CGI, this and that. And there's a lot of movies that do that. You know what I mean? But like for that to be your marketing ploy, I figured they were going to do something different. Plus having Kane Hodder. No, it's just former Playboy bunnies going around doing this. You follow them for 45 minutes like an older horror movie, which is cool. I like those movies. But in a modern setting, but your whole entire thing is all practical, no CGI. I figured you were going to show me the galaxy and like people mutating into different forms. And you know what I mean? Like not a generic slasher. So that one pissed me off. And then 65. I wanted to talk about that for a second.
Oh, man.
You know,
Do you actually want to talk about it for a second?
Did you actually see that one yet?
Yes.
Yeah. So, dude, it wasn't bad. It's not the worst. It just had the worst or the best potential to be good. You know what I mean? And it let itself down. Like it got in its own way. You know?
I mean, we need to do a whole video on it. I don't know. I just did not like it at all whatsoever.
Yeah. I think it had a great premise. I think it had a lot going for it. The CGI. Cool. Yeah, the CGI with the dinosaurs and stuff like that in there, it just definitely, you know what I mean? That will not stand the test of time, how atrocious those dinosaurs look, man. At all.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else we want to close out our awards with, guys?
I don't think so, man. I think those are, I mean, it was a good year, I'd say, overall for 2023 physical media. I mean, there's a lot of releases that we got. I am looking forward to 2024. I'm kind of nervous of how dry the first like 2 months of 2024. Dry. Yeah, there's not a lot of releases, but I'm hoping stuff picks up later in the year. But I think 2023 overall was a solid year for physical media.
We got Conan coming out in a few weeks, and that's one of my most requested 4Ks ever. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, people are stoked for that one.
Yeah,
that's big.
Yeah. No,
my wallet needs a break though. I'm hurting right now.
Well, after that vinegar syndrome, dude.
No, dude, that's why I started rapping. You know, that's why I'm pursuing that.
Yeah, he sold his good mic too. By the way, that's why he sounds that way, guys. He sold his like solid mic because he needed to, he needs a little bit of back for vinegar syndrome.
I sold the good mic. I got this shit mic now. So you're just gonna have to deal with it, guys. At least until June. I think by then I'll be recovered. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens.
I think Will have a Grammy by then.
Yeah, I'll have a gold mic.
And then he can get his microphone back.
Yeah, dude.
Hell yeah, guys. And special shout out. I wanted to go ahead and say thank you guys so much. That I want to say we're just over 2 months into our whole ordeal. The YouTube has been a massive success in our terms versus what our expectations were. In other people's eyes, it may not be, but to us, we are over the moon and overjoyed with everything that we have been showered in love and praise and awesome critiques and everything in between. And I feel like I know probably everybody says this, but we have a great fan base so far. Shout out all of you guys, loyal supporters, everything like that. Here's to a great 2024 from screen to shelf. And I am massively excited for what we're going to bring you guys this upcoming year. And thank you guys for bearing with us on the hiatus and checking out the YouTube in the meantime.
Yep. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a good one, and we'll catch you soon.
Later.